Some shows don't need a celebrity narrator to introduce the show, but this show does. 2 men, 8 kids, co-created by 2 different women, 13 multi-million-dollar businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Thrive Time Show.
3, 2, 1, here we go! Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, now we here.
Yes, 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 and no.
Oh my goodness, you just snuck in a no?
Well, Z, today's show is going to be a fabulous show, but before we get into the show, let's talk about the new friendly confines here at the Man Cave. This is your first time into
I'm blown away.
We have made certain changes due to the flood, mainly pulling out the water.
The great flood of 2019.
Removing the water, sucking out the water, demolishing. We demoed all the walls. But I think last time you were here, there was not a pool.
Correct.
There was not.
There was a hole in the ground.
A lot of the things have changed, Z. A lot of things have changed.
I'm blown away. I tell you what, you had a vision, and your decking and your outside, what do you call that? Your outside decks.
You got the pergola, the deck. I think we have the deck. We got the man cave.
Yes.
Got a little hot tub going on. And all of this stems from a conversation that you and I had at your man cave 5 years ago.
Isn't that great how you can cast the vision, walk it down the aisle, and then marry it?
What I'd like for you to do is you could kind of refresh. Now, at the time, I believe that you had a few sips of Lagavulin, and I had a few sips of some girly wine of some kind.
Yes.
But could you explain the overall genesis of that conversation, or the origin of that conversation about setting big goals? Because it was a really powerful conversation that I don't think maybe you did realize, but it was a life-altering conversation that we had, and I'll never forget it. But I think the listeners need to know about that conversation.
You were casting a vision about a business that you could help people around the world start and keep a business going.
Right.
As we know from Forbes, 80 to 90% of all businesses start up fail.
Right.
And we hate that number.
We hate it.
And you had taken on, with all the successes you had taken on being a business coach, and you were very successful at it. In fact,
yes.
Anybody out there want to challenge this, I would challenge them a business coach walk-off with you. I'm not sure how that looks, but I think it's like on Zoellner, you guys are walking down a runway. And
anytime you can reference Zoellner, please do.
Yeah, of course. And then we could see I'm the best business coach win, and I had my money on you every time. But you were casting this vision. I thought, wow, that, getting Shark Tanked. And I thought, that dog will hunt. I love the idea. This online business school with really guys that are out there that have done it, that are good mentors. Because as we know, it's our theory that, and we think it's almost a law, you're going to learn by either mentors or mistakes.
I don't think the listeners know about it because we probably don't talk about it enough. But when you do subscribe to the online school, for $20 a month, you get to come to a workshop too. You pay $250 for a year. You get to go to the workshop and the videos. So that again, it's amazing how we have a conversation and then you and I team up together. And now I think last year we had a little over 2,000 people attend the conferences, which is a good number for us because we're full. We don't have anywhere else. We don't have other places to put people. I mean, it's full in there. And then you started challenging me about beyond just growing the business. You said that I need to do what?
Well, and the other thing I thought was kind of fun is we're sitting there and you're casting the vision. And we're casting it. I mean, you're painting a picture. And I'm sitting there just watching you paint, sipping my Lagavulin. And I looked at you, and in the profound question that I had for you, when this is successful, what are you going to do with that success? And you looked at me almost like a deer in headlights. And you were like, what do you mean? And I said, well, okay, let's dream a little bit. What are you working towards? What is your big goal? And you said, to build this business. I said, I get that. I get that you want to build the business and you want to change lives around the world. I get that. But that's good. That's noble. That's awesome. And if you're not careful, it's going to put a little money in your pocket.
And you were asking to dream. And I remember going, I just remember you wanting me to dream. And I'm thinking,
what?
I clearly have articulated what my goal is.
Right.
And then you're like, yeah, but what's your goal? And again, I go, What does he mean by that? I mean, it was a very because I thought I wasn't trying to be difficult.
No, and the core reason that you didn't get it at the first pass was you had 5 F's in your life.
Had a goal for faith.
Yes, you did.
Family.
Yes.
Finance, fitness,
Yes.
friendship. What else could there be?
What else could there be? What other
secret
F could be out there?
I'm like, what
that you don't have in there? And so then I humbly submitted a 6th.
And I said,
F.
Z, is this a 4-letter F? Is that what?
No,
is
it's
that
actually
are
3.
You,
It's
I was like,
actually
Z,
3.
is this a bad F?
No,
is it the F I don't want to know?
No,
I couldn't.
You can say this F word. It's fun.
What? Right.
And that is that the journey you're on in life, you've got to have some fun along the way. You've got to have some things that are enjoyable along the way. You're a workaholic, and I tip my hat to it. You're up very early. You stay up. You grind. You're a grinder.
Love the grind.
You love the grind.
Love
And
that
if you
grind.
don't know how to do something, you figure it out and just grind through it.
Grind.
I'm a grinder.
Right.
Grind. And so I think that sometimes when I look in your life, I thought, that guy needs to have a little fun.
Yeah.
Other than watching a Patriots game.
Which is so fun, by the way. By the way, hey, last night, I know this show's going to air probably in Tulsa, it'll air tomorrow, but nationally, this show will air in November at this point. We've recorded up through mid-November now at this point. But the Patriots last night, was that not an excellent display of Bill Belichick losing? I believe he lost 4 coaches this year. 4 assistant coaches, one to the Dolphins. He's losing top coaches. He lost like multiple starters. I mean, Hogan and Patterson and big name players, and he just showed up with a laser show.
It's incredible. They look like they are Super Bowl ready yet again.
Right.
And how he does that, I mean, he really is the GOAT of coaching, greatest of all times, in my humble opinion. And the game was just an absolute beatdown because they weren't just playing the Miami Dolphins that are tanking. I mean, they were playing the
Steelers. And I've got audio of you last night watching the Steelers game. Where were you watching the game last night, by the way?
At my ranch house.
Okay, well, I apologize for miking you without your permission, but this is what Z, I believe this is what you said. It might be the wrong audio clip, but this was you.
Okay.
Were you with Bo? Were you with Bo last night?
Yes, I was.
Okay, so you're with Bo. You're watching
and
the game.
And my brother Eric.
And your brother Eric. And Josh Gordon catches a ball.
Yes.
Josh Gordon, who previously could never stay on the field and keep it clean.
Yes.
He's sober. He's on the field. He catches it and takes a hit like a man, like a Gronk.
Oh, yeah.
Shoves the dude aside, kind of kicks him off, and goes into the end zone like, come on, buddy, at least try to tackle me. It was easy. And this is what Z turns to Bo, and this is what he says here. He says, let me get it.
Thunder, you're getting ready to flow. I feel the glory of God.
And I'm going, wow, I mean, that's
exactly what I said.
That's a pretty hot take there.
Wow.
But, I mean,
thought that was a mic hanging from the ceiling, but you're never sure.
You're never sure.
You're never sure. But I should assume, because you are pretty much the king of the mics.
The master of the mics.
Yeah. How do you get them inside the brains? Because sometimes you mention that you mic people inside their brains.
Well, Z, have you ever had a colonoscopy?
Yes, I did.
That's the process. you're gonna
Seems
feel
like
just
a long way to go.
You just tell somebody, you say you're just gonna feel a small pinch.
Yeah, that's it.
And then just
bam. Wow.
Now let's talk about this though. So you're challenging me to have dreams.
Yes.
And I'm going. I clearly have articulated I want to grow an online school.
Right. Check.
And I still do.
Check.
To help millions of people. That is my goal.
Check.
And you're like, if it's $19 a month, we're gonna need a lot of subscribers. I'm like, yes. And you're like, but then once you do it, what? What then? And I'm like, we'll return an investment to the investors. And you're like, but then what? We'll do more videos. But then what? We'll help more people. But then what? I'll get up at 3 a.m. And then what? Record more videos. And why? Because that's what I was called to do. But then what are you going to do? Record more videos.
Yeah. Exactly, and you were just kind of in a fail loop. I mean, you were just in a loop, and I said, bro, no, you're not tracking with me.
No.
What are you going to do? What's your? I know that's a passion of yours, but for your family, and for your friends, and for your fun factor, what are you going to do? What are you going to do if I gave you a X amount of dollars right now, and you had to spend it on something other than work related? What would you spend it on? And that's when your eyes lit up.
Yeah, and I said, well, I think having a man cave like this, because we were at your man cave.
Yes.
And for the people out there who have not been to your man cave, which is everybody, it is a beautiful. You kind of fill in some adjectives here, but it was a beautiful chimney, like a fireplace.
Yes.
And it was a lot of rock. It was real deal. Like it was brick. Was it brick?
Brick and rock.
Brick and rock.
Brick and rock.
And you actually had to poke the fire. Not one of those gas things.
No.
No, you poke the fire. It's a real thing.
It's a real
by the way,
thing.
that fire pit's going in right there. By the way, right there.
It's gonna be super.
So you
sexy.
poke the fire.
Oh yeah.
And you had a thing that came down that blocked out the bugs.
Oh, yeah.
You hit the button, it comes down and blocks out the bugs. And then the back wall was an aquarium. So you could kind of look into the house, but see your gym tank. Is that right? The gym tank?
Oh, that was, yeah. Uh-huh.
So you could see and then the lights. I think Bo got you a gift where the lights would change to the colors of the teams that were playing.
Yes.
And you would look back behind you, there's a pool. And then the pond. And I'm going, Now this is ballin'.
Ballin'.
And I remember asking you about your chairs. You had these chairs that were the size of like 3.5 chairs.
Yeah, big ones could fit in those things.
And I don't remember the question exactly or your answer exactly. But I remember I asked you, like, why do you have these massive chairs? And you said something like, well, because I can. And I'm like,
because they're comfortable.
But I mean, but it was like, and then I said, dude, that rug on your wall is bigger than most people's room. How big is that? Remember how big was that rug?
Oh, yeah, that's a big one. It's a tapestry, actually.
Tapestry, my bad.
Tapestry. And it's funny story. It's massive, isn't it? Well, I was ordering out of Europe, and the guy answered the phone. He was like, "Excuse me."
Excuse me.
I said, "Yeah, I'm calling about this tapestry.
Thank
I saw
you for
online."
calling the tapestry store.
And I said, "I want to." He goes, What are you going to do with that?" And I said, "Well, I'm just going to hang it in my living room." He goes, "Oh, no. It's much too large for that." I said, "No, I think it's going to."
There's 2 rules in Europe: you can't have a large tapestry, and you can't have a toothbrush.
You can't have it. He goes, "You don't understand. It's listed in the program in the metric system, so you may not really realize the scope of it."
As an American, we understand. You probably don't understand it.
Yes, being from across the pond and all.
With a small brain and everything.
Yes,
You cowboys across the pond.
Yes, you're our distant cousins.
Right.
And I said, well, let me tell you how big the wall is I want to hang on it, that I hang it on, and how big the room is. So I gave him the dimensions, and he said, "Oh, my Lord, it'll fit perfect. I'll ship it tomorrow."
Really? So you got that thing shipped to you.
Oh, yeah.
And you have great armor in there, by the way.
Oh, you got to have armor.
Great, and it was a beautiful, beautiful thing. It was far beyond what I would dream of. And so for me, my whole thing is like I just make money and put it in the bank.
I know, but it was funny because whenever you were you started, you said, "Okay, I think I'm following you, Z. I want to have a cool man cave." And I reached up and I knocked your big melon, which is so big. It's such an easy target.
It's a huge.
I mean, you could just flail around. You're going to hit it sooner or later, right?
Huge boom. And see, I have audio of you hitting me.
Yeah.
I did just hit record on my phone. I'm like, well, if you're going to hit me again, at least let me record it.
Well, that's fair.
This is you here slapping me around here. I believe this is the audio. If I can find it here, let's see if we get the. Maybe not. Maybe.
I bet you'll find it sooner or later.
Oh, there it is. I think that's there it is. Here it is. I got it now. Oh, come on, baby. Make it work. But see, you know what, man?
Sonic boom.
There it is.
There we go. Sonic boom. That's right.
Sonic boom, yeah.
So then what I said, no, bigger than that. And then you're like, okay, bigger than a really cool man cave. And this one that I'm in right now, it's your man cave / studios for the Thrive Time show.
Love it.
It's unbelievable. I just walked into it today, right before we started filming, or taping, I should say. And it is super, super cool. You were telling me about your vision for it, and it's just wonderful. Really, Clay, you guys did a great job.
It's coming together, and the show's about you, the listener, today. And I want you to think for a second. Think, because today's show is going to be called "Let Your Nose Be Your Yes." Oh, see that? No, so here we go. So right now, in somebody's mind, there's some blockage.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's called your thermostat, all right? So Z, what temperature do you like to keep your home at? What temperature do you like?
Right now I have it set at 70, and then when I sleep I knock it down a few degrees lower.
But you like 70 when you're awake, and then 68 when you're sleeping. Uh-huh. There's somebody though that would come into that house and say, "Wow, this house is freezing."
Yes, they would.
Somebody else would say, "Wow, this is a little bit too hot for what I'm used to, because I'm used to 67 or 68 or whatever." And the thing is, we all have a thermostat, our comfort level, where we're kind of comfortable. And so when you grew up, did you have wood floors, beautiful wood floors in your house? Did you have granite countertops?
No, sir.
So I didn't either. Linoleum? Were you into linoleum? Was that your deal?
That was the move.
And what about like regrettable wallpaper? Did you grow up around regrettable wallpaper?
Do you want to hear a funny story about linoleum?
Yes.
So, I am in Branson, Missouri.
Yeah, the home of the ducks, the tourism. The Missouri is kind of a touristy community for those who are not familiar.
Silver
with it.
Dollar City.
There we go.
Okay.
Yep.
And driving down the main strip, they had a museum. It was called the Titanic Museum.
Really?
Artifacts from the boat, stories from the boat, self-guided tour. You know, you put on a little headset thing and you walk through this museum. And I said to myself, you know what? I've got a few hours to kill. I'm going to go check it out. And so they actually built inside the museum an exact replica of the grand staircase that you see in the movie. That was actually, they got the blueprints and they made it resplendent with the same colors, it was exact to specifications.
Real quick, so you're in Branson at the Titanic
Branson,
Museum.
Mm-hmm.
I have audio of you there, by the way. I want to cue it up real quick. This is you at the museum when you walked in.
Oh, yeah.
Typically, you don't travel with a recorder. But apparently, that particular time, you had that recorder with you.
Oh, yeah.
And you're...
I don't have my flute.
Yeah, you're a flautist. This is Dr. Z in Branson.
I'm a little bit off right there, but...
This is so good.
I couldn't believe anybody recorded that.
Oh my gosh. Look at it. This is so good. You're so good on the Okay, back to you, sir. Sorry to play that audio. Just people had to hear it.
And they had the flooring was the newest, latest, greatest,
tremendous,
sexiest flooring that was available at that time.
Yes.
When they built the Titanic, and guess what it was?
Linoleum?
Linoleum. Isn't that
Really?
crazy? Yeah.
Are you serious?
True fact.
I did not know that. So it turns out that was a hot move in 1911. Was having the linoleum. The year the Titanic was built.
Well, that was the newest, latest thing, and people were like, ooh, and an on over. Ooh, linoleum.
So what happens is we then get into this thing. I call it the wage cage, where you begin to exchange your hours for money.
Yes.
With no hope of anything better. You're in the wage cage.
You think that's why 67% of the people out there listening out right now want to start their own business?
According to Forbes, 67% of people want to start their own business. The statistics show, I mean, it's a very large number of people that want to start their business. Now, here's what's crazy. This is what's crazy, is I want to invite everybody into this room with us, into this conversation called possibilities. And once you get to the top of the mountain and you can look and see, wow, there's so many opportunities, you don't have to be in. Somebody out there listening today owns a business and it's a stupid business. Like just a stupid. I met a guy at a conference a few months ago who said he's been listening to our show and as a result of it, he just sold one of his businesses. And I said, why? And he said, because it's stupid. It's low profit. I work a lot of time and I could be doing something else. And so he, at the age of, late 40s, sold his business. And I can't remember what industry. It was some kind of printing business, I believe. And he's into a different industry where he goes, it still involves managing people, but I make a lot more money. There's somebody out there listening right now, you should be getting into LASIK. Somebody out there says, well, why should I get into LASIK? Well, LASIK is a profitable thing. And if you're a doctor, can't you be a doctor of something that's very unprofitable? Is it? I mean, what kind of a medical, what division of the because you're a doctor, what division of the medical fields where you would go, wow, this is how you don't make money? Is there a specific where you say, because I know people who are radiologists or anesthesiologists, they make a lot of money.
They can if they want to work. I mean, there's any education out there. If you don't have the work ethic to go with it, you're not going to make a lot of money.
But you could hypothetically, graduate with a degree, and somebody out there could go to college for 7 years, get an MBA or some type of degree that has no practical value.
A lot of people get doctorates in areas, so I guess you could call them a doctor. They're maybe not an MD or DO. They're maybe not a physician.
I'm a doctor of history.
Wear a white lab coat.
It's possible though to do that.
Well, absolutely. You can get a lot of education. I know a lot of people that go longer than most physicians go to school. They're just almost professional students. And when they're done, they've got 3 PhDs and they got this and they got that. And you go, what are you going to do with it? Well, I don't know. Probably teach. I'm like, you did all that, so now you're going to go teach. Yeah.
And some people feel like that's how it has to happen.
And you know what? The 33% of people out there that don't want to start their own business, that's okay.
But what if you do secretly have ambitions, right, for things that are beyond the wage cage, and you let your life slowly go by and never realize it? That right there is sad. That's called regret.
That is called regret, and that is sad, and that is one of the main pillars of why we're doing what we're doing is try to. I mean, it's not easy, but it can be done.
Right.
I don't want to sit here and say, "Oh, starting a business is easy.
It's easy.
Having a successful business is so easy. Why aren't you doing it, man? You must be a dopehead. I mean, come on now, get with it." I mean, don't you have any motivation? People look at it and going, "It's so intimidating. Where do I start? What's next? What's second step? What's third step? What business do I even do?" That's why we talk about, franchises. That's why we talk about doing some things that you love to do, because there's going to be tough times ahead.
So let's pretend for a second that just for a moment in time,
okay,
you, the listener, your good friend, opens the wage cage. Your good friend, Dr. Zoellner, opens the wage cage. And this happened to me. Clifton Talbert did this to me. He screwed me up. Clifton Talbert, this guy,
He's
first African-American west of the Mississippi, he screwed me up in a good way. He said, "Can we, Mr. Clark, I would love to meet you for lunch."
He wasn't the first African-American west of the Mississippi
to open a bank.
There you go.
I
know you left that off.
Wow.
He's not that old.
Okay, Father Time, my good friend.
Sorry. Technicalities. We just want the truth spoken on the program.
This just in. Thank you, Anderson Cooper.
Yes.
Okay. So anyway, what happens is the first African-American west of the Mississippi to open a bank. Clifton Talbert says, "I will be happy to meet you." He launched the Stairmaster. He introduced the Stairmaster, up market the Stairmaster. His life was turned into a movie called Once Upon a Time When We Were Colored. Google search the guy, Clifton Talbert. He says, "Let's meet for lunch. Let's go. We'll meet up at Southern Hills."
And how did you get the meeting to get the meeting?
I cold called a ton because I decided to let my no's be my yes.
Oh, there we go. Now, when you say I cold called a ton, how really don't? I mean, give me a number.
I would say, and again,
and what did you say when you called?
At least 3 dozen times.
And how did that look? Because someone out there's going.
Usually, Doug would answer the phone or somebody.
Carl.
Well, yeah, somebody who worked there, and they would say, "Thank you for calling the building of the Community Institute." And I'd say, "Yeah, I'm trying to set up a meeting, a brief 10-minute meeting with Mr. Talbert. I'd like to pick his brain." Well, right away, they're like, "This guy speaks at Harvard. He speaks for, what's the global organization, the World Organization, the United Nations." He spoke for those guys.
Wow. That's
big
deal.
organizations. Yeah. And, big honorariums. And you don't have time to let every rando pick your brain.
You don't.
When you're a best-selling author, people call all the time.
Sure.
And they kept saying, "He's really busy. Maybe we could look at, 3 months down the road, maybe January callback." And I'm like, okay. And I kept calling. And eventually I realized I'm going to have to set an appointment. So I said, "Hey, I'd just like to go and book it like 6 months out or whenever the first availability is. I just want to book it. I want to do it." And they're like, "Well, you want to book an appointment, 6 months out or 5 months out?" Or, "Yeah."
Sure.
So I booked that appointment, baby. So anyway, we meet, and he takes me to Southern Hills. So this, again, I'm encouraging the listeners, let Dr. Z take you up to the mountain real quick. And first off, we hop in the car, and he has a Mercedes SUV. Now, I've never been in a Mercedes or an SUV that's a Mercedes. Seriously, at this point in my life, I was probably 19 years old. I'd never been in one.
Swanky. Sure.
So I get in that thing, and it's sturdy. The door on the Mercedes, Z?
It's like, this thing can open.
Your Land Rover is like that, sturdy.
Oh, yeah, sturdy.
Your Porsche is like that. It's like quality.
Good Germans.
See, quality.
Quality.
My Ford Escort wasn't that quality.
Yeah.
No disrespect out there. If you're driving a hatchback 1989 dent-resistant Ford Escort, I respect you.
Are they dent-resistant, really?
No.
Okay.
So I'm in there driving around in my Ford Escort. I get into his car now. We go to Southern Hills. Now, we go to Southern Hills, and they open up the gate, so it's like the gate kind of opens up, and there's a dude whose full-time job is to keep people like me out.
Yeah, absolutely.
The guard gate guy.
Oh, yeah.
I've never been a place where there's a full-time guard gate guy to keep people out.
Oh, yeah.
So he says, "Mr. Talbert, who's your guest?" He says, "Mr. Clark." And I'm like, "That's me," because I never heard Mr. used before my name, really.
Sure.
Unless you're in trouble at school. So
yes. Mr.
Clark. So they let us in. We drive. It's kind of a winding serpentine. You're weaving between the golf courses and the fairways and whatever. And you get into this beautiful country club. And I get to the door, and the guy asks me if he wants to take my coat. And no exaggeration, I was like, no. Because I didn't want him to touch my coat. Like, where's he going with my coat?
I want my coat.
So Mr. Talbert says, "Well, you just give him your coat, he'll hang it up." And I'm like, okay. Because he knew He remembers where he came from.
Sure.
And I didn't come from the bottom like him, but I came from halfway. So then we go to the bathroom. I said, can I use the restroom real quick? Sure. So I go to the restroom, and there's a dude in the bathroom. Z, can you explain why really fancy places have a dude in the bathroom?
Well, the dude in the bathroom is an assistant to help you with after you've washed your hands, to get you soap. You may want some cologne. You may want your mouth freshened. And there's a bathroom attendant, and then he also cleans up after you. So the next person comes in has the same experience.
Do you feel like that job is necessary? Do you like that? I mean, seriously, you could choose, but I mean, do you feel like that's a little too bougie, a little too swaggy, or do you like that guy?
I like that guy. I've learned to like that guy. At first, it was a little over the top. But the first few times you encounter some dude just hanging out in the bathroom, looking around, trying to talk to you.
I'm going. This is why this is the origin of the word butler.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's where the word comes from.
That's a bathroom butler. I love it.
What does lure mean? Lure means attendant from the original word attendant.
Yeah, there you go.
Because the guy's offering me, like, I get out and he's like, you want a mint? And I'm thinking, I don't know that I want a mint. That's not my initial thought after I use the restroom. Is he first offered me a soap and towel.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's like, do you want a mint?
The move is, what's really fun is to go in and ask for something that's completely ridiculous that they don't have, and then just be like, super. That little.
Oof. Because those guys will usually make it happen. Those guys are on it. I mean, they're crazy. So anyway, so we go there, and I come back, and Vanessa's like, how was the lunch? And I'm like, well, I asked
I made
Mr.
a friend
Talbert.
in the bathroom.
Yeah, I did. I said, babe, I've learned a lot. Now, there's a Bible verse I want to read to you, Z, that we're all familiar with, probably. Matthew 5:37.
Okay.
I'm going to read it. You tell me what it means. It says, but let your yes be your yes, and your no, no. For whatever is more than these is from the evil one. What does that mean? That's pretty intense.
Well, and you break it down really harsh or completely, it's don't lie. Don't tell someone, yes, I will be there tomorrow to help you move that refrigerator, knowing that you're not going to be there tomorrow to help you
And
move
the American cousin of lying is this. You don't want to come out and say, I'll be there, and then not show up. That's a little shady.
That is shady.
But here's the non-shady move. I'll try.
I'll try to be there.
I'll try to be there.
I'll try to be there.
You know me.
You know me.
And if I can be
if
there.
I can be there, I'll be there.
If whatever I have to do it, I'm going to make sure that I try.
I'm going to try to move a few things around.
I'm 100% all in. I'm going to try to be there.
I know you need some help, and I'm your huckleberry, and I'm going to give it my best.
And if you're around super successful people like Clifton Talbert, like Dr. Zoellner, get ready for the candor cannon that you're not ready. I remember asking Z one time, I said, Z, we do this show. We're going to do about 9 shows a week, and I clearly don't value life balance like you do, you know. So, and I remember I said, will you be on all the shows? And I'll never forget this. I wrote this down. But you said, Clay, I will be there 100% of the times that I'm there. And I'm going, what? What does that mean? You said, I'm going to repeat it again. I will be there 100% of the times I'm there. But I'm not going to tell you, yes, I'm going to do 9 hours a week. You do the show prep.
It was 10 hours, actually.
10 hours. You said you do all the show prep, and you do that and book guests, and I'll show up, and I will share my experiences, but I am not going to commit right here to you to be here this many hours a week. I've worked, you didn't have to get into the whole reason why, but you were very clear with it.
Right.
So, again, let your yes be your yes and your no be your no. I agree with that, yes. But what I'm saying is when his people told me he's busy, call back later, or no, I thought, I think he means yes. And you just keep calling. And so I asked Talbert, and Z, see if you can guess as to how it happened. I said, Clifton, Mr. Talbert, at lunch, how did you help market the Stairmaster? And he said, well, I was a banker, and a group of guys came in. They kept getting rejected for funding, and one day they came in again, and I said, I'll help you market it. And they're like, you'll help us market it? You're a banker. Now, again, this is the first African-American west of the Mississippi who served in the military, by the way, served in the Army, first African-American west of the Mississippi to become a banker, who grew up so poor and so segregated, he wasn't allowed to walk into a bank when he grew up in Glen Allen, Mississippi. He could not go into the front door of a bank in Glen Allen, Mississippi. And this guy owns a bank, Z. This is a different kind of story here.
It's pretty cool.
So when that guy says to you, this is how you do it, I'm going, okay, this is how I do it. I'm going to write this down. He says to me, what I did is I went to trade shows with my wife, Barbara, every weekend for about 3 years. And then I made a certain number of cold calls every day for about 3 years, 3.5 years. And then a member of the U.S. military said, I represent the whatever. He went through the labyrinth of the military to find the guy who makes the purchasing decisions after 3.5 years, who makes the purchasing decisions for the Army's physical fitness equipment. And this guy says, I'm the decision maker, and we'd like to order one. And so he's like, one? What? You want to order one?
One?
And he perceived this as a good thing. So the guy ordered one, and he had to have it shipped, I believe, to Annapolis, Maryland, the home of the Naval Academy. And so, Z, how do you think that Clifton made sure it got there?
He drove it himself, probably.
Right?
Yeah.
He put it on a truck and drove overnight, and he shows up, and the guy's like, Mr. Talbert, I didn't expect you to be here. He says, well, I drove it here. I wanted to make sure I set it up to give you the product demo myself, to show you how it works, to answer any questions you might have. And the guy was so wowed by how it worked and his all-inness that he ordered thousands, thus making millions of dollars of revenue, thus Clifton Talbert.
Ta-da!
Now
Thus,
you know the
driving
rest of the story.
a Mercedes SUV.
That's
And
that's the story,
remember-
though. But what if he had perceived no to mean no when cold calling? When you're trying to grow, Z, what happens if you perceive no to be no to actually mean no?
You're missing out on opportunities. Because no just means you haven't convinced me enough yet.
When I hear the word no, I hear it mean, I think I need more information.
Try again, jump harder.
So what I want to do is I'm going to go back and forth. You and I are going to go back and forth, and the one-upsmanship that you would only experience in the world of entrepreneurs,
Ah, yes.
letting
Yes.
people peek into the top of the mountain.
Top.
And we're going to one-up each other on stories about where you were told no and then you got a yes. And we're going to keep doing it until we run out of stories
Okay.
to build the faith of the listeners. But before we do that, I want to make sure we get this. Now, Mr. Talbert or Mr. Zoellner has taken you to the top of the mountain, but now you have to go back in the cage. Now we're going to shut that cage.
No.
We lock it. Now,
no.
here's that's the sound of a lock, apparently.
No.
So you lock that cage, you lock that door. Now you're locked in the wage cage.
Uh-oh.
Now, something is terrible when you know how things could be. Now that you've seen it, it's hard to go back. It's once you've seen it, it's hard to go. Once they shut that cell door, Z, once you've been out before, that's why it's so hard to go in prison, because you want to get that freedom again.
Right. The people that I've known that were poor and then became wealthy and then lost it all were having a much harder time than the people that had just remained poor their whole life.
Because you don't know what you're missing out on.
Right.
So now what we're going to do before we tell you these stories, I want to make sure we get this idea. Once you open the cage, and you say, I want to get out. I want to get out of the wage cage.
Get out of the way.
I want to get, well, let me tell you what. Everybody I've ever met says they want to be super successful.
Oh, yeah.
Except for the certain members of the homeless community who I respect and love, and they always have a Sharpie available, and they always have a piece of cardboard available, and a cart, a shopping cart. Tips to being a successful homeless person: you need a Sharpie.
Sharpie.
B,
Check.
you need the cardboard.
Cardboard. Check.
Shopping cart.
Shopping cart.
And
check.
a sad look on your face.
Sad look.
And the phrase, I will work for food, followed up with the actions of not choosing not to work for food.
Well, of course not.
But you want to say you will.
Well, yes.
Okay. So
That's called marketing, by the way.
But everybody out there says, I want to be successful. So now I'm going to open the cage for a second, okay?
Okay.
Now let me tell you what you find outside of this cage, the wage cage. Let me tell you what you find.
Ooh, tell me.
One. There is a bag of cash.
Ooh, nice.
And that bag of cash is tied to the tail of a dog. And you got to go chase that cash.
Ooh, wow.
Meanwhile,
Hope it's not a really fast dog.
Meanwhile, that dog, though, is covered in sacrificial lamb's blood.
Wow.
Okay, the picture of the dog.
Wow,
This dog is
pretty
covered in
intense.
sacrificial lamb's blood. It's got the bag of money.
Yep.
And now there's a lion chasing you. You're chasing the dog with the money.
Gotcha.
You don't want to hurt Fido. You want to protect Fido. But Fido somehow got part of some weird end times lamb sacrifice. And all of a sudden, that lion can smell blood and it wants blood. That's called the competition.
Wow.
That's called haters.
Wow.
That's called lawsuits. Z.
Oh, yeah.
That's called disgruntled employees. So once you get out of that wage cage, see, talk to me about the pressure you can feel sometimes when you're out there just trying to get your money and you're being chased by a lion. How does that feel?
Feels horrible. Just last week. Just last week. With one of my optometry clinics, a gentleman walks up about 2:04 in the morning.
Get out of here.
And with a hoodie on, proceeds to take some type of rock or some type of big impediment and crashes through the glass of the front door, crawls in, smashes the 2 Nike frames, takes all the Nike.
I don't like this story.
Take all the Nike frames out, cuts up his arms pretty good. So
Are you serious?
I should check the emergency room, blood everywhere, and then scurries out of there with a handful of frames. All on video. You can't see his face because he's got the hoodie on.
And talk to me about the futility, because I remember one time I interviewed a guy. I want to say his name on the air, but it just takes everything within me to not say his name because I know who he is and he knows who he is. I interviewed this guy for a job for DJ Connection.
Okay.
And he clearly wasn't a good fit because he showed up high.
Well,
so I let the guy know. I said
he was nervous.
Yeah. So I let the guy know, though, hey, it looks like it's not going to be a good fit. He showed up very late, probably 20 minutes or so. And so I just said, it's not going to be a good fit, but I appreciate you. And he'd wanted to work for DJ Connection for a long time.
Well, who doesn't?
So the next day I get to work, and I see him cutting the lock off of my trailer filled with equipment and driving off.
Well, he was going to show you how good he could DJ.
So I called the police.
That's called initiative. Isn't that initiative?
Dude, I called the police, and I actually went to his house, and I saw the equipment in the garage. There it is. But because he claimed it was his, and it's DJ equipment, and I knew it was mine, but it's equipment I had bought years before. Unless I could prove the proof of purchase or had the serial numbers for each speaker, which, by the way, who keeps serial numbers for speakers you've had for 7 years?
Yeah,
Unless I can
let
prove
me guess, you didn't have them.
Right. So I go back to my office to try to find said documents, because I do keep a lot of things, and he sells it in the meantime. And I watched it happen. And here I am trying to employ people. This is a guy who applied for a job. And my reward, no good deed goes unpunished. Am I correct?
It seems that way sometimes.
So, again, there's a lot of things that are going to chase you. So, Z and I are going to one-up each other today.
Well, let's look at the facts on that guy. One, he needed a job, so he needed money.
Right.
And if you were going to hire him, well, then, he was just going to take the DJ equipment. It's old. He probably could stand to get some new stuff.
I was so frustrated because I finally just caught a bag of money. I had just got my bank account to $25,000. I just got $25,000 because I had a big goal to get to $30,000.
Yeah.
And he steals it. He stole like $25,000 of crap. And I had cameras set up. The cameras are better now, but I had cameras set up. I had insurance. I called the insurance company. They said, well, where's the equipment now? I said, well, it's, I don't know. It was stolen. They said, well, our insurance for that trailer covers the contents if they're in your parking lot. And I'm like, what kind of insurance? And that's when I discovered I shouldn't use crappy off-brand insurance companies.
Ta-da!
I mean, that thing covered nothing.
Yeah, nothing.
Nothing. I see a lot of people who are pretty proud of their insurance policy that you got really cheap. See, talk to me about how expensive it is to have a cheap insurance policy.
There's a saying, and sometimes you hear it and you go, yeah, whatever. And they go, you get what you pay for in life. Now, you can overpay for something.
Right.
I get that. But you get what you pay for. And so if you buy cheap insurance, there's a reason why it's less expensive. Think about that. There's a reason why it's less expensive.
Maybe if they never pay out, they can make it really cheap.
Maybe they're just pigs and not hogs. My number one lesson in business, my first lesson. And that is, don't be too greedy. And we all know some insurance companies out there can be a little greedy. So there is some money to be saved. But still, when you buy that
you know what I mean? When it's like 10% of the cost of everything else.
You
got to know.
It's shady. And they got a lot of small print.
And by the way, if you're out there listening, Z, and you're paying your people minimum wage for every single position, can you talk to me about the dangers of getting what you pay for when you pay people the least amount possible?
Oh, you get the bottom of the rung. I mean, you get the bottom of the barrel as far as people go.
And their life issues.
And I'll tell you what, unemployment now is at its lowest rate. It's hard to find good people. As everybody says, but I always gave the analogy, it's like shopping at TJ Maxx. You got to dig, but you'll find a good one.
I pay $12 an hour across the board for elephant in the room positions, and some people there's bonuses and stuff too. So I think the average is probably $17 an hour, but it's a lot more than minimum wage. And I can't tell you how many great employees jump ship from the competition. I never go after them either. They just jump ship, and they're like, "I've worked at this job for 5 years or 6 years. I make $8 an hour over there." and I make 12 for you, I'm switching teams. I mean, you're going to get, I'm just telling you,
Right.
Don't be cheap. Now, again, we go back to the theme, though. Okay, we want to escape the wage cage.
Yes.
We know what we want now.
Right.
We want, Z, when you go out to eat, do you typically not look at how much it costs?
Well, I've already been to the restaurant, so I kind of got a feel. But yeah, not too much.
I mean, you look at, are you stressed out? You go to Outback, are you stressed out?
No.
Oh, boy. I wonder if it's $27 or $42.
I wonder if I could just buy half that steak.
But you do remember the time when we both did that kind of thing.
I just didn't even go to Outback.
But you and I remember that, the time where we never went out to eat.
Well, of course.
So if you want the time freedom and financial freedom, okay, if you want to get to the mountaintop, what we're going to do now is we're going to one-up you, Mr. Listener, with stories of horrible, bad things that have happened to us, or times where we got told no and how we still fought through it, and here we are. So I'm going to start off with my first time I got told no a lot that ended up being a yes. The phone book. I remember talking to Mr. Talbert. I said, I'm having a hard time getting leads, and I work at Applebee's, Target, and DirecTV, and I currently cannot afford the advertising that Dr. Zoellner is recommending. Can't afford it. Yellow page ad. I've got 3 jobs. How did you get your first customers? He says, we got this thing called the phone book. He said it nicely. He's a very nice guy. He says, well, Clay, there's a phone book, and they list names alphabetically, both for businesses and people. And I would recommend you to open up to the A section and call. And I'm going, come on. Really? Because I'm too awesome, right? I'm not called for entry level. I'm supposed to be a manager. I'm called to be the boss.
You're the boss, the jefe.
Anyway, so after much mental pushback, I started doing it. So I started calling the apartment complexes. And see, I'll role play the call.
Okay.
You can be the apartment complex manager, who, by the way, they typically answer the phone because they're salespeople.
Sure.
And I'm going to call you, and here we go. Hey, I'm trying to reach the apartments here for the Vintage on Yale. Do you know who's in charge of the apartments there?
Well, you happen to have him. I'm the manager of the Vintage here on Yale.
My name's Clay Clark. What is your name?
Fred.
Let me ask you, what kind of events do you typically organize for our residents?
Well, I'll tell you what, that's a very good question, Clay. I have the calendar right here. We have a spring meet and greet.
You ever used a DJ or a band?
Oh, I think on a couple of the parties we have.
Well, on a scale of 1 to 10, if 10 is like the best entertainment of all time and 0 is terrible. I mean, if 10 is like awesome, like it's the best ever, like Michael Jackson or Steve Martin or somebody great, and a 0 is terrible, how would you rate the quality of the entertainment you've had in the past?
Well, it was actually a friend of one of our residents. You might know him. But it was pretty average. I'd give it a 5.
So in your mind, what would make it great?
Well, I think his equipment was, not quite up to par. I think that...
Do they do a lot of announcements? Any announcements? Or are they funny?
No, they didn't really talk hardly at all.
Really?
They just got up there and kind of played.
You guys do a cannonball contest or a limbo contest or anything like that, or was just playing music?
Just played music. I think he just put it on his playlist and just walked away almost.
Well, here's the deal. I've got a special right now. I own a company called DJ Connection, and I'll do your first event for $1. That's what you'd pay. That's the deposit. It's called DJ Connection.
No, and how much?
$1.
Oh, okay.
And you pay $1, and this is how it works. I typically charge $500 per show, and after the show, you can just pay me what you think I'm worth. So if it's really good and you're like, well, that's great, I'll pay $100. I'm not going to be upset. Won't guilt you into it. But it's $1. And then if it's great, if whatever your budget is.
What's the catch?
There's no catch. I just want to build a long-term relationship with you.
Catch.
No, I want to build a long-term relationship with you, and so you can use me every year. Now, with that script that took me a long time to make, by the way, and feel free to steal that if you're listening. I used that script, and I always said the language was very careful. I said, who typically organizes our resident appreciation party?
On that.
Hour. They think I'm a resident.
Sure.
Anyway, I did that, and for every 100 calls I made, I'd usually book 4 to 5 appointments, and I'd usually book 2, even at that low of a rate. So in 2001, when I was named, in 2002, when I was named the Young Entrepreneur of the Year for the City of Tulsa by the Tulsa Chamber, I bet you a third of my portfolio of clients that I worked with were. It's crazy, but a third of my clients were apartments or companies that started their company's name with an A or a B. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, you got into season, didn't you?
So Bank of America,
no.
I got them from cold calling. Bank of Stillwater off of Cherry Street, I booked them.
Oh, yeah.
Bank of Oklahoma, the First National Bank, Vintage on Yale Apartments. I mean, A's and B's, baby. And I was just crushing it in the A's and the B's. But again, I had hundreds of rejections for every one deal.
Where would it usually fall apart? Because that's a pretty strong pitch right there.
It was because I was 19.
Too aggressive, too fast.
I was 19. I spoke too fast.
Yeah.
And they thought I was going to forget the date. I just didn't inspire credibility due to my lack of self-awareness. And so I discovered I didn't have a fancy technology, but I went to Radio Shack, and I discovered that if I recorded my phone calls, I could hear, like if you go to the Juilliard dance school, you have to dance in front of mirrors. If you play in the NFL, you have to watch game film. I discovered that I was horrible, and I didn't know it. And I had this epiphany when you know how you leave someone a voicemail?
Yes.
And it says, to submit the voicemail, press star.
To listen to it.
Occasionally people have those voicemails like that where it's like, press star to listen to the message.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought I'll hit it.
Yeah.
And this is how it sounded. Hey, Pam, this is Clay with DJ Connection. I wanted to see if I could DJ your holiday party. Give me a call back, 918-481-2010, 918-481-2010, where the fun begins by... And I'm going, no. Because I was cold calling, so I started to sound fast and rehearsed and scripted.
You got to get through them.
Right. And so I had to learn the moves. And see, but if I would have stopped right there, I wouldn't have had the money to then buy the advertisements on the yellow pages.
You got to have some success, and sometimes that success comes with a lot of negativity. I mean, you probably didn't book your first one to what? You had 50 no's, 25 no's, 30 no's?
At least.
100 no's?
Yeah, and then I did the move, and I've shared this on previous shows, but I wasn't a Christian at the time, and I had just turned 21, and I was like, I've got to sell something, and I'm so nervous. I know what I'm going to do. Every time I get rejected, I'm going to slam a beer.
Oh, there you go.
And so my wife worked at Office Depot at Roberts University, and she'd come home, and she didn't even know this until about 4 or 5 years ago because I didn't talk about it. But she'd come home to check on me. Hey, babe, how you doing? And I always have like gum I'd be chewing or something. But I had 4 to 5 beers before noon most days. That's how I made those cold calls. And by the third beer, when you haven't eaten anything, you're a courageous man.
You are. Liquid courage is what
you can get up there and do a toast at a wedding, or you can make a cold call.
Absolutely. They're very similar. I've
thought about setting up call centers at receptions.
Why wouldn't
Everyone's in a good mood. They've had 3 or 4 beverages.
Absolutely.
Now, see, that's my no's. That's my first no. You can one-up me. When was the time where you got told no, whether it's from banks, investors?
Well, when I first got out of school, I first got out of optometry school, I had a deal to buy a private practice there here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and it wasn't a whole lot of money. I look back on it now and I go, well, that wasn't a whole lot of money at all. But so I got my little portfolio together, got my business plan together.
Yep.
Got the moves. I didn't have a suit, but I made sure my pants and shirt, and I even had a tie.
Oh, come on. You had a tie?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
and I had it was a Samsonite business little attaché case or little case, I carried around with me. And it had the little side, you clicked them and like that, and then you could open. I know nobody can see what I'm doing with my hands.
So did you bring your flute with you?
Most places, because I waited a lot, and you can never practice your flute enough, in my opinion.
Okay, yeah.
My humble opinion.
Right.
And I would get all slicked up, and I thought, well,
here we go.
Here we go. Like catching fish in a barrel. And I would walk in.
Here we go.
And I would ask the front desk person, I need to speak with a loan officer.
Mr. Barnes will see you in 10 minutes.
Yes.
Every time. So it's very formal.
Yes.
It's like it sucks the fun out of the room. All of a sudden, it's like, in 10 minutes, Mr. Barnes will be with you. No overhead music, by the way.
Right.
There's a certain intimidation factor of the banks. It's a big building, usually high ceilings, marble floor.
Oh, yeah.
And then Mr. Banks comes in.
And they make you sweat it out there in the waiting room for a little bit. And I was sitting there thinking, okay, these guys are in the business of selling money, basically. Right.
They have to want a deal.
And I'm coming in wanting what they're selling.
I want what they sell.
I mean, when I own a business now, if someone walks in the door and says, hey, I want to come in and buy 100 frames, I'm like, oh, come here. Let me hold
Typically, when you are selling something, you don't berate or act in a condescending way to your potential customers. Typically. But in the banking world, not always, but often, many banks will say, so, Robert, tell me about your business plan.
Yes.
And then you tell them, and then they poke holes in that plan for what? 10 minutes? 30 minutes?
as much. Well, if they don't have anything to do, they might just be having fun with it.
No,
and
they
just
do.
wanting to
They love
embarrass
to.
you.
A lot of guys like to screw with you.
Oh, sure.
Do you remember a specific time where someone screwed with you the most, where you got really pissed? I mean, was there a time specifically where you're going, I'm not looking for the bank's name or the person's name, but one where you're going, this guy really has some hate in his heart.
I won't say the bank and I won't say the guy's name, but there was one guy that literally laughed at me. I mean,
and is he still around?
I don't know. That's a good question. Gosh, that's been 27 years ago.
I just remember going in and that banking theme and setting up my account with this wonderful. I went to a bank in Tulsa, around 70. It was like an Arvest or something, and they were very nice to me. I went to a different bank that was not nice to me, and then I went to another bank called NBC Bank, and Debbie was my lady right off the 71st and Riverside.
Okay.
And Debbie says, "Now, what's the name of your business?" And I said, "It's DJ Connection." And she says, "Is that like a DBA? Is that a DBA? Is it a sole proprietorship or an LLC?" And I'm going, yes.
Yes.
She says, what do you mean?
Connection.
I said, well, I do business, and people pay me, and they write me checks. She says, to who? To Clay Clark. She's like, do you have your paperwork for your LLC? I'm going, what does that mean? She says, limited liability company. I said, oh, well, I don't have a lot of customers, so I don't really have a whole lot of liability. And she's like, well, who typically files your taxes? And I'm like, well, I got TurboTax where the program put the CD in, and I do it. And
I call online now too.
And I do it, I just fill it out, and and she's like, do you, who's advising you? Do you have anybody? And I go, nobody. She goes, well, honey, and she took the time. Super nice lady.
Wow.
She probably took, seriously, dude, probably an hour.
That's
just sitting
sweet.
there with me going, well,
Shout out
draw
to
me
Debbie.
pictures on the wall, like in a little napkin and stuff. She's going, this is a company. This protects you from liability. It's called limited liability. You need to go ahead and form that.
Right.
So I'm like, well, who does that? She's like, well, you need to call an attorney. And I call the attorney, and he's condescending too.
Oh,
I
yeah.
didn't have a great attorney like Winters and King now. I have a great attorney now, Winters and King and Wes Carter, but I didn't have a great attorney. I didn't have the knowledge. And it was like the bank was mean to me except for Debbie. And Arvest was nice to me too. But the Arvest was professional. But Debbie was kind and helped me.
Sure.
She
mentored you.
She did. And the lawyers I called were just mean. And I talked to some guy. He charged me like multiple thousands of dollars, like $3,000 or $4,000 to form my LLC and my minutes and my operations agreement and all these things. And I found out later he was just scamming me.
Oh, yeah.
And are there attorneys that scam people?
Yes. Yes, there are.
Homeboy sent me a letter saying that I had forfeited on some verbal agreement and I owed him a ton of money, so I had to pay him, I thought. Because if an attorney says you owe him money, don't you have to pay him?
No.
So then the next one, I tried to buy
But, I mean, the deal's a deal, so I don't know what your deal was with this guy.
I had no agreement. I just had asked him about what it would cost to set up an LLC, and we talked for like 15 minutes on the phone. He sends me a bill. It's crazy.
No, that's kind of what it is.
So then I decided, finally I figured it out. See, I'm making some money now. 2002, I got ads, Yellow Page ads on.
Oh, you're rocking.
Here comes my next rejection. I want to build my wife a house. I had that idea. I'm going to build my wife a house.
Oh,
and by the way,
noble.
to this day, that turns me on.
There you go.
I like getting my wife's stuff. That's my thing. So I'm like, I'm going to build you a house. So I called around town, got bank approval first because I'm a smart guy.
There you go.
And I called this builder, and he said, let me show you the houses. And he quoted me, he goes, Clay, well, what kind of house do you want? And I said, well, I'm looking for about 4,000 to 5,000 square feet because in my mind, bigger means better quality.
Sure.
I don't even care about, so he says, do you want wood? No, that stuff warps over time.
No, I want.
You want granite? No, I want linoleum.
Oh, yeah.
You want smooth walls? No, I want that rough stuff. You want whatever ceiling? No, I want the popcorn thing. So he's like, okay, I'll get you a lot of house. So I come back, I'm proud. So I'm hearing for $250,000, I got myself a McMansion.
McMansion.
See, seriously, almost 4,500 square feet for $250,000. I mean, I'm
what year was this?
This would be 2002.
Okay.
And I'm like, this is going to be. So Vanessa and I meet this guy, and he was a disaster of a man, which fit for me because I was a disaster of a person.
There you go.
And Vanessa the whole time is like dying a death in her soul, thinking that I'm going to, because she wants to be encouraging for me, her husband who's buying this house for her. But we get in the car and I'm like, babe, what do you think?
Well, you're welcome.
And she says, no. Do you see the houses he builds? The ones we've toured are all terrible. And I'm going, what do you mean they're terrible? She goes, they're big. She says, well, you can get like a big tent. That doesn't mean I want it. And I'm like, what? You hate my dreams. So anyway, I decided not to use that guy. Then I went to another guy, Rob Brewer, who did a great job. And the Brew Crew, Rob Brewer, check him out. I think it's called Spartan Building or something. Rob Brewer, the Brew Crew. If you're looking to build a house in Tulsa, I do love that guy. I do work with Shaw Homes. Now they're my client. They build hundreds of houses. But if you want like one house to be built custom, Rob Brewer's a great guy.
He's your man.
So Rob builds me a great house. My wife wants to put in wood floor. It's a lot of money. Anyway, the builder that I previously had rejected calls me and says that he feels as though that I have verbally committed to the home due to his time investment in me, and that he will be suing me if I don't move forward with the house.
Oh, my God.
True story.
Wow.
Have you ever got a shakedown letter?
Oh, all the time, sure.
I get that. I remember getting that in the mail. So I called the guy because I knew the guy from some church relationships, and I said, hey, you're suing me? He's like, oh, you have to talk to my attorney. And I'm like, you're suing me? He's like a 55-year-old guy. You're suing me because you asked me the question. You said, if we can work out a plan that works for you and the financing, would you want to move forward? I said, well, if we can work out a plan. That's that whole yes selling crap.
Oh, yes.
Where he's like, so if we could get a plan that you like at a price you like, would you want to move forward? I said, well, if I could get those things, then yes. But we never did get those things. And he's like, but you said you would. And I'm willing to do whatever changes I have to do to get your business. And I'm like, but
why would you ever want to do business after they've shut you down? That's one thing you never, ever, ever get the business tied up after a shakedown letter.
So this is what happens. So I call a guy who I think is a good friend of mine.
Yes.
And I thought he was a friend of mine. And I said, hey, you work for this guy. Does he do this crap a lot? He goes, oh, yeah. And by the way, he uses particle board instead of good quality lumber. He gets the cheap lumber, putting the studs in your house. Anything you can't see is second quality, which is why I don't work there. And I said, okay, so you would never work with him again. He goes, no way, dude. Do not work with that guy. I worked with him for 2 years. I would never work with him again. He's shady. So I called the guy back armed with this new information, and I said, hey, I've talked to a couple of your former employees, one in particular, who I've known forever, who says you're shady. And I know you're shady, so I definitely am not using you, and I'm not paying that freaking letter. I'm like, yeah, with no attorney to defend me.
Of course not.
And my buddy, though, tells me that he does this crap all the time. It's like a move of his. It's those dirty advertising companies that mail you invoices for stuff you didn't sign up for. It's that dirty move.
Dirty move.
And so the guy on the phone's yelling at me, and he's like, you tell me the person's name who said that about me. You tell me. Well, I'm thinking my buddy. I'm thinking I know this guy well, and I don't know how life works yet because I'm like 21, 22, you know?
Uh-oh.
And I'm like, his name is such and such.
Oh, no.
So that guy immediately calls my bud, and he's like, hey, your buddy just used your name and said that you think I'm shady.
I'm suing you now, too.
You're not going to hear the end of this. That's slander, and I was your boss for 2 years. So now I got my friend, who I thought was my friend, mad at me.
Oh, sure.
I got the builder mad at me.
Oh, yeah.
And then my wife's like, so what do you want to do? And I'm like, well, I think maybe we should
go back to that Big Ten idea.
I said, maybe we should just hire him to build the house. And she's like, no. Why would you possibly think that? I'm like, well, it's easier because then I could appease. And then I realized again, Z, that sometimes adversity gets in the way of the obvious right decision, right?
Absolutely.
It'd be easier to lay down and not fight for it.
Absolutely.
People out there are wanting passive income, and they're wanting to get to a place where you don't have to fight for the money anymore. But if you're listening right there, if you're listening right now, wherever you are, and you are coming into adversity, it's because you're doing something. The only way to avoid adversity is to do nothing.
Right.
Right?
Right.
What if I want to avoid adversity? Should I just probably hop back in the wage cage?
Get back in the wage cage.
Wouldn't that be the best advice for somebody out there who doesn't handle adversity? Just get back in that wage cage?
Oh, I would say that, but I mean, there's still adversity in the wage cage. There's still things you have to do in the wage cage. I mean, there's still a boss you have to deal with in the wage cage. I mean, there's still life that goes on in the wage cage.
What if I want to be an entrepreneur, but I hate adversity?
Then you need to just buy lottery tickets and go punch your time clock.
There's a church, Z, that I was a part of years ago that said that if you're a member of the church, they would like you 1 weekend per month to go out with other members of the church at a set time to invite the members of the church, to invite neighbors to come to church. So you knock on the door.
No.
Hi, we're with the local family church, and we'd like to invite you to church. And we have a great family fun thing this weekend, and be inflatables for the kids. Here you go. Not a hard like salvation pitch, but more of like a, hey, just come.
Just come to church.
And the church grew remarkably.
Imagine that.
Because they had to do that. Also, a requirement was if you're a member, not just an attendee, but if you're a member, you have to volunteer one Sunday a month in the kids' church, the youth, or you have to be like a greeter. Sounds fair?
Sounds fair. Hello, welcome.
Church is now very, very big. Big church now. Big church.
Big.
Most of the listeners out there probably know the church. It's huge. Now, a small church that I was talking to at a conference, this is about 2 years ago, he says, well, I don't have a big budget. What tips would you have to grow my church? And I said, well, and this guy, by the way, full disclosure, has never been a client. He's just a conference guy. And I said, well, what you want to do is you want to make sure that all your members, how many members do you have? He says 300. I said, make sure all 300 once a month have to volunteer to go knock on doors 4 hours a month, invite people to church, put out inflatables, or they have to volunteer as a kids ministry outreach, or they have to be a greeter. That's the move.
That's the move.
And he's like, yeah, but certain people on my church don't want to do it. And the board, some of them don't like it. And then one time we did it, and we got some people that got mad at us. We did it one time. We did it one time, and we had somebody who got mad. So now we don't do that anymore.
Well, that's why you're not growing.
Right.
You got to bust through the adversity.
So get one up me. Give me another time where somebody told you no, and you just pursued doggedly until it happened. There's got to be another time.
Oh, there is. The ranch that I currently own.
I love that ranch. Beautiful place.
Beautiful place.
Z66 Ranch. Google it, folks.
Rockin' Z Ranch.
Rockin' Z Ranch. Google it right now. I've spied on that thing from Google Earth. It's a beautiful thing. Rockin' Z Ranch.
Rockin' Z Ranch. OK.com is the website.
Rockin' Z Ranch. OK.
And you guys went out there and did that drone thing? The drone? It's
beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Rockin' Z Ranch.
Rockin' Z Ranch.
Rockin' Z Ranch.
Anyway, I called up the guy, found out who owned it, called him up and said, hey, I want to buy your ranch. He said, well, sir, I'm sorry, it's not for sale.
There we go.
And I said, well, I don't care. And he goes, who are you? Because, I was just kind of having fun. I said, well, I don't care if it's for sale or not. I want to buy it. He goes, who are you? And I told him, he goes, I've heard of you. And I said, well, let's meet for lunch. Let's just meet for lunch. We're going to meet for lunch. Rockin'
Z Ranch.
And so we met for lunch.
Olive Garden.
And every month, we'd meet for lunch for 6 months.
Where did you meet?
Wherever he wanted to eat.
Give me one place. You go to Ruby Tuesdays?
Olive Garden, I think, was one of the places.
Rockin' Z Ranch. Rockin' Z Ranch.
And I say that at the Ruby Tuesday, they have the nice
Ruby
croutons.
Tuesday. Oh, the croutons.
The croutons.
I got a ton of Olive Garden salad in my refrigerator right now. I really do. I have a ton of salad up there.
Very nice, very nice.
Unlimited salad.
The croutons that are hard, crunchy, and then soft in the middle.
Sir, would you like me to grind the pepper? Right, French.
So we would meet once a month. And so we kind of warmed up to the idea. And so the first time he said, well, okay, I'd sell it, but it's got to be this much money. And I said, oh, you're crazy. Get out of here. I'll see you in a month. And so that was our game. And it took about 6 months. And after that time frame, he finally threw out a price. And I reached across the table and shook his hand and said, you got yourself a deal, and I've got myself a ranch.
When you got the deal, did you guys meet at kind of a sexy, swanky wine bar to consummate that deal? Or was it more of a, Italian
I said, you know what? I said, so excuse me, waitress, please come over here. I need a cheese tray and a glass of your finest bubbly. Sir, this is Olive Garden. We don't have champagne here. I said, okay, fine. Just give me some cheap boxed wine and a cheese tray, please. Just celebrate.
Now, let me ask you this. Seriously, when you got that deal done, how good did it feel?
Felt great.
Did you?
Because it was a lifelong dream of mine as a small boy. Because I said I used to grow up watching like Bonanza and Gunsmoke and Lone Ranger, and just that whole time frame was always like the guy, the Ponderosa.
Did he say yes to you? Did he say yes? Handshake? Was it like okay? Was it an email? Was it a call?
And I said, if you finally came up with the price that's reasonable,
okay,
and you finally want to sell this to me, come on, you want to sell it to me.
Come on, baby, come on.
Yeah.
You know it.
And he kind of through the first 3 months decided he wanted to sell it to me. Now we're just haggling over price. And so then when he finally said, okay, I'll sell it to you for this, I reached across, smiled, and reached across, shook his hand and said, you've got yourself a deal.
And then at what point did you, because I have audio, I believe this is of you guys finishing the deal.
Yes.
Have you ever seen the movie Ghost, Z?
Oh, I love that movie.
So this is the scene where you guys finally agreed.
Oh, yeah. Is that where we get out the pot of clay or the clay we're actually working on?
And you're kind of seated behind him.
Oh, yeah.
And he's working on that potter's wheel.
We're forming a beautiful
deal.
A bowl.
A bowl.
A bowl.
And it's spinning out of control. Where it's not looking like a bowl. It's
Well,
looking
he
like
let it go too fast. I couldn't help that.
And you reached over and you helped him.
And I was like, no. Here's, you got to go slower.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh my gosh! And so that's how the
How'd
deal.
you know that?
Well, there's just things that I know.
I typically will use a potter's wheel and make me a ceramic.
There's somebody
clay
out there that's
deal.
starting to get the idea that I have no yeses until I go through the no's. Let your no's become your yes. Your no's will be the yes of your future success. Your no's are what's in the way of your future yes. The no's are the stepping stones.
I've got some of my more fun
One up
stories.
yourself.
I'm waiting on some. No, okay.
I'll one up you.
Okay, you go, and then I've got a fun one. This is fun.
16th in Boston. I was looking for office space, and I called a lot of office buildings to lease space, and everyone was not calling me back. No one was cooperating. Nobody was being easy to deal with. And I get a hold of the landlord, and the building doesn't say for lease. Call the guy, making a deal. I say, hey, I would like to lease this much space. He says, no. So I think about it. I go, I'd like to lease the whole thing then. He says, yes. Then I think to myself, holy crap, I've just leased a lot of office space. Yes. And then I used my entrepreneurial mind, and I subleased out unneeded space, extra space to other people. Thus, it cost me less than to be in the original building I was in when I needed to move. But again, I probably had 50 buildings I called on, or landlords or tenants or whatever, and no one would lease me the space.
No one at least sees the space.
The very house that I'm in right now, the guy who owned the house told my wife no repeatedly, and now we're in it.
Yeah, does he know yet?
He's actually a client of mine now. It's funny. He actually became a client of mine. He was like, wanted me to help him. I just think it's so important, though, that you are out there. If you are out there, and why do we fear rejection so much? What's the deal with the fear, the rejection? Because that's what's going on. Is somebody out there is saying, I can't handle that type of I can't handle.
Because we all want to be loved, Clay. We're all looking for love. And when a hater comes up, or they hand you a bottle of Haterade, you just go, that's not what I'm shooting for. That upsets me.
You remember Back to the Future, the movie Back to the Future, before Michael J. Fox learned how to
fly?
He went back in time and realized what his life would be like if he was somebody who feared rejection. And there's a scene where he wants to become a best-selling author. He wants to become a writer. And he's telling his girlfriend why he won't pitch his book deals.
I mean, what if they say I'm no good? What if they say, get out of here, kid? You got no future. I mean, I just don't think I can take that kind of rejection.
Think about that for a second. This is what someone's playing in their mind. They're saying,
I mean, what if they say I'm no good? What if they say, get out of here, kid? You got no future. I mean,
that's where you're at right now by default.
Exactly. Then you go to the next publishing house.
Come on now.
That's how you do it, though.
I have a theory that eventually we're all going to be dead soon.
This just in.
And so if you know you're going to be dead as an eventual reality, and you know that you currently don't like your current reality, what could possibly stop you from trying?
Yourself, and that's what yourself gets in the way. Self, I'm going to take a time out from you, okay, for just a few minutes, and I'm going to go try to get this thing going.
If I sound irritated, I'm irritated on behalf of your future self that wants to get out of the freaking wage cage.
We're from the future, folks, and we're here to tell you you can't do it.
Do you know that Craig Rochelle used to be a Methodist minister? Craig Rochelle?
I think, did we go over that when we had him on the show?
He was a great interview on the show, and I've somewhat become obsessed with all things Craig Rochelle, just researching the man. And
we need to have him back on again.
I want to.
Fun.
Yeah, he was great. And I'll tell you this, though, this guy,
now, somebody may be listening out there going, who's Craig Rochelle?
He's the pastor of the largest church currently in America, the Protestant church, largest non-Catholic church in America. And he used to be an associate pastor at the United Methodist Church.
Oh, there you go.
And now he's the head of Life Church. Now, what if he had just stuck within the United Methodist Church system?
He might have been able to put a little bit of energy and some juice back into that. That's his church is much different.
Much different.
Much different.
Do you think the United Methodist Church would allow you to have a Marvel comic theme series? Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they would. Maybe they wouldn't. I don't know. But I think it took courage.
At this point, I don't know.
It took courage though to leave the cage.
It did.
So sometimes you have to. Now, other times you're going to recognize that you are what I would call an intrapreneur, and you aren't called to work within an organization to make that organization successful, because you may be married to somebody who maybe you can handle the rejection. You don't have fear, but your partner does.
Correct.
Your spouse does.
Correct.
How many times have you seen that where a man is bold and has history and a vision? He has a history of big vision. He has a vision for success. He has a history of success. And he marries somebody later in life that doesn't have the same vision, someone who fears rejection. Or you see a young woman who's very ambitious as a high schooler or a college student, and then they marry somebody who's not ambitious. What happens then?
Well, you're not on the same page, and then you have some fighting, and you're not together. And that's one of the things that you need to make sure that whenever you pick your spouse, that you sit down and you do some of that dreaming with. What do you think about this? Dream. I mean, it's like sitting down with someone and going, you know what? I've been married to my wife for 10 years, and guess what? I never knew she didn't want to have kids. I mean, if you, these are things that this is before you seal the deal, you might want to talk about future things and make sure you're.
Honey, on our wedding night, are we going to have sex?
Just possibly.
I don't know. I'm going
to try to get there.
I want to save myself for retirement.
I'm going to save myself for.
Maybe that's the time to hit the exit ramp. Maybe you say, do you want to have kids? And maybe they say,
well, that would involve sex, wouldn't it?
I'm not into sex. So I'm just saying, you got to figure out what is causing you to be stuck in the wage cage. Is it fear of offending somebody? I won't get into the specifics, but Z, have you ever started a business, business model, a niche, an industry, anything at all that potentially could offend somebody?
Oh, yes.
Just today, I had a guy reach out to me. He wants help with his business. Mm-hmm. And I think I might work with him and help him. Cool. But the problem is he is competing with one of my former friends.
Ooh.
And a friend is some...
When you say former friend, is he still a friend?
I think a friend is someone I share time and values with. Okay. And I don't share the values with the person or time with them. Well, I disagree with their worldviews about everything. So
then he's a former friend.
Right. So I'm going... Yes. And I'm kind of a competitive guy. And I'm going, I would love to do that. But again, what if I feared upsetting the former... I see a lot of people...
You're going to upset him.
I remember years ago, there was two young women that I met, one of which had this idea for a business. She had it in her head.
Yes.
And she told her friend. And she said, let's do it together. So the two friends are planning this business together, right? Now, the friend who did not come up, the friend who did not come up with the idea, the friend who did not come up with the idea, the friend who was just brought to the party,
yes,
says, I just don't want to put up that kind of money. I think we should not do it.
Right.
So the friend who had the idea had her dream killed by the friend who didn't have the faith. So the friend who had the idea went out and started the business on their own.
Yes.
And then the friend who didn't have the courage called the friend who sees their success and says, hey, you left me. You did it without me.
I can't believe
you left me behind.
That.
Why would you do that? You betrayed me.
I thought we were friends.
So here's the sad story. The friend who originally came up with the idea shut down their baby business that was just beginning to be profitable to save the friendship. And now the two aren't friends.
Oh, I'm glad I don't have a firearm right now because I would shoot myself.
You see these things a lot, though.
It just wears me.
One up me with a no good, very bad rejection story.
Well, here's
so
one
terrible.
Here's one. Here's what I used to love this challenge.
Yep.
We would get, this is back before you have Google reviews and all this silliness right now that's going on. And I say silliness because it can be sometimes pretty silly.
It is silly, very silly.
Yeah, one of my businesses fires a guy and he writes, so we get the next day 2 1-star reviews and everybody in the business is horrible except that one guy.
Right.
It's so silly. But anyway, so we used to get the letter, right? Mm-hmm. We'd get the letter or the phone call, a very irate patient. I'm never coming back. I hate you guys. You've ruined my life. I mean, some really bad stuff.
Pretty tough.
Thinking, pretty tough.
Whoa.
And you're sitting there thinking, wow.
Is this the only job in America?
Wow.
Can you move on here? What's the...
Wow, we told them our glasses would be ready in a week, and it took 2 weeks.
Oh, okay.
I mean, we've ruined their lives,
Their lives are ruined.
Yeah. And so my fun was, and I'd often have a little crowd of people around me, because when it got to me, that meant my manager couldn't appease this person. This person was still on the war path. They were on the war path, and they were going to do whatever. They were going to call the news station. They were going to call the president of the United States of America. And I was going down in flames. And my business was not good. I mean, it was, epic.
And they can take your joy from you if you're not careful.
Don't let them. So I would call said person, get them on the phone. Doot, 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 doot. This is Dr. Robert Zoellner, and I just received your letter or your messages or however you want to do it. And I'm just calling to talk about the incident or talk about And so then they're wild.
I was married to me 2 weeks to get my glasses, and you promised 1 week, and I just swear I'm not happy with my marriage, and I'm not happy with my job, and I'm not happy. This is the only outlet in the world.
And here's how you handle that person. You listen to them. You have an acronym that's kind of fun. What's your
Blast,
acronym?
believe,
Blast.
listen, answer, satisfy, trust. Believe what they're saying.
Right?
Listen to what they're saying.
You've got to listen. Don't
Provide them
interrupt.
answers.
Yes.
Try to solve it if you can. Try to satisfy, and then build that trust. Do what you said you're going to do.
And you have to own it. You have to own it. You can't argue with them that it didn't happen. You can't argue with them that your employee didn't say that. You can't argue
And you say
with
over
them.
and over, it's my fault.
Yes. And
No, it's my fault.
You own it. Buck stops with me. I'm embarrassed that you were treated that way.
Oh,
and
dude.
I am
It's a
so
shame.
sorry. I am. I did not start this business to treat people that way.
Come on now.
In fact, we don't sit around in the morning going, okay, let's do this. Today, the 10th person that walks in that door, we're going to mess them up real good.
You want to fight yourself to the point that people don't have to fight you.
Right. You want to own it. And then you want to, and then the biggest question I'd always ask them, the biggest question, and the key question. You want to know the key question?
What is the key question?
The secret sauce.
I do. Let me cue up my secret sauce.
What is secret sauce?
My secret sauce. Okay. We're ready for the secret sauce now.
What can I do to make you happy? Because listen, you don't assume you know what they want. And 99% of the time, they're extremely reasonable. And they say, listen, I'm going to make you a deal you can't refuse.
I'd like a free pair of glasses. I'd like a free pair of glasses. I'd like a free pair of
new
glasses.
car. I like a free pair of glasses.
My cousin should.
I want to own this business.
My cousin Luigi would also.
I want you not only to fire that employee, but take him out back and do public flogging.
And then I want you to piss on the grave. Because I don't want to. I just want to disrespect the dead
And then
bodies.
I want you to walk through the mall naked with a billboard sandwich saying how big an idiot you are.
I want you
and
to
how right I was.
I heard you have a favorite horse. I want you to rip the horse's head off.
And put it in that employee's bed.
And take a photo of it and send it to me on Instagram. That's all I'm asking.
That's all I'm asking. It's simple. Just a few simple things. No, 1% of the time they'll be off the charts. Like I want $100,000 in an apology letter that I can publish that you publish in the
Nothing could
social
possibly ever
world.
make it better.
And I don't know. I mean, anyway, 99 percent of the time they're like they're shocked that you've owned it, that you've apologized for it, that you've come up with a plan to make sure it doesn't happen again.
I would say as a stat, I agree. I think about 95% of the time they're willing to be reasonable. That's what I found.
You know what? Maybe I'm just nicer and I have a.
You think
when I use my honey voice, maybe it just works higher.
Maybe I'm thinking because I only deal with people who are nuclear mad. Maybe that's because it only gets to me at this point if it's nuke mad.
Right.
So I guess I'm thinking 95% of the nuke mads. Maybe.
Oh yeah, you might be right, and I may 99. I may be.
Because on the store level, I
may be wishful thinking on that.
I mean, you have thousands of customers, so at the store level, for something to get to you at this point, it's gonna be pretty bad.
Yeah, but I've less than 10 patients, and you got to realize that we've seen millions of patients. I probably less than 10 people I've red X'd them, and red X means.
Don't give them service again.
Cocoa, cuckoo puffs, and
don't let them in there.
And call the police if we see them. No trespassing if they cannot come on property. And that's less than 10. It's probably really less than 5. I can think of 5.
There's a book called The Service Profit Chain where it encourages you to break your customers into categories. There's 5 categories. Category number 1 is an apostle. That's somebody who loves you so much they will tell their friends to use you for free. They don't need a kickback.
Correct.
2 is a loyalist. They show up over and over. They don't tell anybody about it, though. That's like 70% of your business. The people that just come back, that repeat stuff. That 3rd is that mercenary guy. He comes in with that coupon, that hot special. He will not buy from you unless you can save that $5, those $2. He's a mercenary.
Oh, yeah.
That 4th category, not so positive. It's a terrorist.
Yes.
And if you have more than about 1% of your customers are terrorists, there's something wrong with you. But again, a terrorist is somebody who just is mad about everything. There are certain people that are mad about their job they lost, the divorce they had, the death of an animal.
They got the other day,
and now they want to attack you as a way to cathartically deal with it.
Sure.
And then the final group is a hostage. Now that's where you upset somebody and you've taken their money, but they're stuck with you. I would call this contractors who are shady.
Yes.
When you have a contractor you've paid to finish a wall or building a deck or a building or something, and you've paid them, but they won't finish the job. And now they're holding you hostage.
Right.
That's a weird a weird vibe. But again, if you own a business, I'm just saying, welcome to the big leagues. Z, with 4,000 customers at Elephant in the Room that we see routinely, I have found, this is what I have found, I don't like it. I have found we make a mistake usually with your hair because we're cutting someone's hair.
Yes.
3% of the time. Now, let me show you something. I use my head as a demo for haircuts.
Because you can have like 6 people cut on it. Well, it's so big.
it's a massive head. But no, it's like a hair buffet.
Yes.
But seriously, I whenever we have a new stylist, I always let them cut my hair. So sometimes if we have a bunch of new people, they cut the hair of the employees in the office for free. And then we have a lot of dudes up there that work in the office. And sometimes when we run out of male models, I go back a second or third time within like a week and a half. So look at this. Look how short that is.
Wow. Bro.
Look at that.
Bro.
We mowed that thing pretty low.
Wow.
That's like my third demo cut in like 7 days or something.
Wow.
So, but anyway,
impressive.
My hair is where, but again, we try to train our people with real people who are not paying to get them to be great. Even though they all have licenses, they went to hair school. I have found statistically we make a mistake about 3% of the time.
And how do you handle that? I mean,
this is how it works. If you get a bad haircut or you're not happy in any way, if you're walking out and you look displeased, our managers are trained to say, were you happy with everything today? And if you said no, then we give you a free haircut.
What if someone is unhappy and they don't say no, because most people won't?
Well, we look you in the eyeballs and we're trained to say, were you happy with everything today? I'm trying to figure that out, It's kind of like fancy restaurants will say, does the food taste all right? When you first take your first bite of steak, does everything look all right? That's kind of a move. We try to preventively go after it proactively.
Do they rebook right there?
Yeah.
And
everyone pre-books.
Is that a red flag when they don't want the person to just cut their hair?
Yes.
Okay.
If they won't pre-book, it means they're mad.
Okay, and if they want to pre-book and they don't want to use the person they just used, that's a red flag too, right?
Right.
Okay. I'm learning the game.
And we have, though, about 3% of people, we make a mistake of some kind. And but again, I mean, that's if you're shooting free throws, dude, and you make 96% of your free throws, you're going to Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame, baby.
If you make 96% of your haircuts, people boo you.
Well, 4 do.
You know what I'm saying, though?
Sure.
Because people want perfection except for in their own job.
It's their hair. It's kind of like, oh, man, why did you screw up the guy next to me, not mine?
Remember, people want perfection except for in their own job. Let's think about the standards we hold ourselves accountable to before we... Anyway, that's a thought. So we get in there and we make that mistake. The move is to believe, listen, answer, satisfy, trust, refund.
Yeah.
If they're really
Blaster.
mad, the process...
Encourage, refund. Yeah, blaster.
The next one, if they're really mad, is the front desk people are empowered to give you, they have the autonomy to give you your next haircut free too. So I'm giving you now, at this point, we're talking $76 of free stuff minimum.
Yes.
Usually $84 of free stuff. If it's next level, and let me tell you about that. There was a guy recently, I'm old enough to, everything seems recently, but a couple years back, who got his hair cut, and he said he had a job interview. He was flying in to Tulsa for his haircut. I think he lived in Houston or something. And he came in for a haircut, and he claims that the haircut was so bad he lost his confidence. So he said when he applied, he didn't have any confidence. That's why he didn't get the job. Now,
so therefore, you owe him the salary for the...
I'm not kidding. Now, think about this. You and I, if we got a bad haircut, we would own it. We'd walk in and go, hey, I just got my haircut, and they made a couple mistakes, so I apologize for the distraction, but here we go. But this guy said he lost his confidence.
Wow.
And I said, hey, what can I do? He says, well, unless you have a $100,000 job, can't do much.
Can't do much.
I'm like, so would you like a refund? No, but you'll never hear the end of this. I'll go on Yelp. I mean, I'll make your life hell, buddy. And I'm like, okay, well, is there anything I can do to resolve this? No, I'm just telling you what I'm going to do. I am going to go on Yelp, and I'm going to make your life hell, buddy. Now, I think for $1,000, I could probably stay off of Yelp.
Oh, here we go. Hostage.
And I said, what state are you in? He says, I'm in Texas. So what state am I in? He said, Oklahoma. It's a true story. And I said, well, we have the thing called Clarity Voice, which is a call recording software. And I've recorded the words out of your mouth. So I got an option. One is I could take this video. I'm very good at optimizing. I could take this audio, turn it into a YouTube video. When you type in your name in Google, this is what the world will hear. I could do that. You could go on Yelp. Now, I'm really good at optimizing. Really, really good. So, I mean, you type in your name, I'll make you famous. You come up top. Every job interview you come to, and we can hear this 20-minute conversation of you just ripping my team, ripping your... You said that the person you applied for was a moron anyway. You mentioned the name of the company. I could do that. and I could put, I won't do it anonymously. It'll say from Clay Clark. So people will know who posted it.
Yeah.
And you could go on Yelp anonymously and complain.
Correct.
Both of us could do that. Or why don't I just give you a refund? He goes, longest pause ever. I think I'll just do a refund. I'm like, okay.
That's a good answer, buddy.
But that kind of crap happens. And that would have killed a 22-year-old version of me. I would have cried.
Oh, yeah.
But as a 37-year-old guy, I'm like, come on. I've seen this before. Doesn't it, see, all these no's, doesn't it build up the callus? Talk about the palace of the callus. When you have so much callus that it doesn't even bother you, you're like, these lawsuits or litigiousness or jackassery or sabotage or betrayal.
It's the concept that I have. We've talked about this before.
Oh, it's such a good concept.
Gosh, we've done so many shows now.
No, you got to talk about it.
It's the high water mark. Once you reach a new high water mark, any other floodwaters that go below that, no big deal. And what I mean by that is once you have one of those epically bad runs of a lot of no's or a lot of people breaking into your place, just all the lion gets you and mauls you almost to death. The next time a dog comes up and bites your ankle, you're like, I've been mauled by a lion. That's not that big a deal.
It's not, though. And once you get there, once you get to a level of where you've had so much. I watched Josh Gordon and that game catch the ball from the Patriots. And a hit that would have made me cry. I think you saw that touchdown run where he's dragging the team down he's dragging the defender down the field with him.
Oh, yeah.
He took a wallop, and then he's like, keeps on going.
He's a 240-pound man.
I would have cried. I mean, I don't care how big.
Died.
I heard an interview where they were talking about Rob Gronkowski, and I guess he had over a pound of fluid that was being drawn off of his thigh after games last year. Because of all the swelling and all the stuff. This is audio of me having a pound of fluid drained off something. Why me? Why? Sir, you got to stop crying. You have an NFL game tomorrow. You're getting paid $18 million to do this. No. Where's my mom? I mean, I couldn't handle it.
No, I mean, those guys are tough.
If you want to be an entrepreneur, just understand you're a linebacker and you will get hit because entrepreneurship is a contact sport, is it not?
It is, but I don't know too many businesses you could start where part of the requirement is they're going to pull a pound of fluid out of your thigh every day or every week. So that's, albeit for an NFL, Hall of Fame potential player who's big and rambunctious and gets a bunch of hits, I can see that. But the idea, though, that you're going to have to actually draw fluid off your thighs to open a business is really more of a metaphor, right?
So, Z, let's think about this. Final thought before we wrap up today's show, before we end with a boom. Let your nose be your yes. Let your nose be your yes. Right? Think about this. Let your nose be your yes.
Okay.
You got to get 100 rejections for every one yes and success. You've got to do it.
Okay.
Somebody out there who's in their mind wrestling with this idea right now. They're wrestling with the idea. Do I really have to get 100 rejections for every yes? Can't I just make a click funnel? Can't I just automate my success? Can't I put no money down? Can't I just get rich quick? Because there's people out there that will sell that dream to you. There's a lot of money to be made selling you what you want to hear.
Oh, yeah.
But give somebody the tough love they need. This comes from love. Someone who says, I don't want to get 100 rejections.
Here's the deal. Can I get some? Can I preach?
I want you to preach, and I think
I don't have I feel
like I am prepared.
Completely manned up.
I feel like I'm prepared for you to preach, but I have to because it's been a while since I've hit this button here.
Oh yeah.
Let me find it here. It's been a while since I've hit this button.
It's been a hot minute. I know. It's been a hot minute.
Right now I'm just gonna hit this button. I mean, that's a good.
That's that eye doctor down
let me just do. I have a sound effect that leads us into preaching, but I don't have the preach music with me right now. I'm working through some things.
Okay. Okay. There we go.
Now I got it. Here we go. I got 1 second. Here we go.
Oh,
got it.
Okay. There we go. Okay.
I got it.
Here's the deal, folks. In order to go up, you must first start by going down.
Shunda.
You must defuse before you can infuse.
Oh.
What does that mean? That means as you're walking down the rocky road towards success, you're going to step on some rocks.
Oof.
You're going to have some no's thrown your way.
Oof.
Like little fiery darts.
Shunda.
And what you got to do?
Oh.
You're going to just fall over and die the first little dart that hits you?
No.
No.
What are we talking about, Z? What are we talking about?
You gotta walk through. You gotta persevere. You gotta push through. You gotta take that no and replace the N with the Y and the O with the E and an S.
Oh,
And
what's
make
that
it a
spell?
yes.
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 Listen, if it was easy, everybody'd be doing it. If it was easy, you wouldn't have 89% shutting down after they've opened up.
This just in.
I mean, we're talking about people that have gone through the hard parts of opening a business and then unable to keep it open.
You mean when you do hard things, life gets easier?
It is. And the harder you work, the luckier you get. And you have to understand this. Everybody out there is getting the no's. And the successful ones are the ones that shake it off. Like Taylor Swift tells you.
Shake it off.
Shake it off, baby.
Shake it off.
Shake it off.
Shake,
Haters
grooving.
be haters.
Don't stop, can't stop grooving.
There you go, there you
Something
go. Oh, yeah.
rather, everything's gonna
yeah.
be all
You're
right.
welcome, Thrive Nation. There you
Haters
go.
gonna hate. Something's gonna brother. Back to you.
Okay, that's wow. You're welcome, Thrive Nation. Little audio.
How did I do it?
Little audio diamond for your ear.
It's a
there.
miracle.
I don't know.
It's amazing. How does he do it? Wow.
A little red velvet cake for your ears right there, folks. You bet. You're welcome. So what I'm telling you is this, is that it's going to be hard.
Come on.
But you can do it.
You can do it.
You can do it, man.
You can do it.
You can do this thing
All night
called
long. You can do
business.
it.
It's just business.
You got to push it. You got to push through the
You have
adversity.
to push through. And the thing about it is that, and you hear this a lot. You've heard it in movies. You hear it even on our show. It's nothing personal. When people tell you no, it's not a rip on your character. When they tell you no, it's not. It's just they're not there right then.
Come on now.
They're not there right then. It's not personal. You can't take it personal.
John Maxwell told us no and then told us yes later.
There you go.
Years later.
Years.
After asking every year for him to be on the show.
Years.
Wolfgang Puck has told me no, and now he said yes. We're getting huge people reaching out to us now because we've taken a lot of rejections. Behind the scenes, underneath the water, there is a duck looking calm on the surface, but below the surface, it's paddling those feet. There's an iceberg dead ahead. Iceberg! You just see the tip of the iceberg, but what's beneath the ice, beneath the water, it's the big iceberg.
It's the big one.
People don't want to look at the stuff under the scenes. No one wants to look at the magma and the lava that made Hawaii. We want to talk about Hawaii.
But my friends, there is hope.
There is hope.
There is hope. And that you have found the right team.
Come on now.
You have found the right place.
Yes.
You have found the right men.
I testify.
And we have some women on our team too.
That's right.
But you found the right people, the right tribe.
You got to get out to a workshop.
To link in arm in arm.
You got to get to a workshop.
To walk through that rocky road.
You got to get to a workshop.
To help you.
Help you.
Get your dream.
Yes.
And take.
Yes.
Make your no's be yeses.
Oh.
And you know what?
Chicken
and
butt?
all your dreams come true. Because we are here to help mentor you up. We've done it. We've been there. We've had a lot of no's, a lot of rocky steps along the ways. But you know what? If we could do it, if a guy like Clay can do it, if a guy like me can do it, we've got this thing kind of sort of figured out. We can help you, and we're here to help. That's why we built all this. That's why we do our radio show. That's why we do our podcast. That's why we do our online business school, thrive15.com. You can get to it thrivetimeshow.com. And that's why we do our in-person workshops.
If you're out there today, just seriously, fork over $250, okay? Fork it over. You're going to come out to our beautiful facility, 17,000 square foot, 20,000 square foot facility. You're going to come out to our facility, you meet the team, attend a workshop, and you get a year of videos. Now, if you don't do that, see, I have an audio clip of a person towards the end of their life.
Yes.
Who is late 90s at this point.
Oh,
and this is
that's
one
a long life. That's a good
and
long life.
He was given a tip to a young man, and he said, "Son, this is how you'll feel after a life spent avoiding adversity.
Oh, okay.
This is how you're going to feel."
Oh, perfect.
And I got it queued up. Let me get it right here.
Like eating a spoonful of Drano. Sure, it'll clean you out, but it'll leave you hollow inside.
Oh.
Let me try that again.
Like eating a spoonful of Drano. Sure, it'll clean you out, but it'll leave you hollow inside.
When you spend your whole life trying to avoid adversity, you're going to feel hollow inside. You got nothing.
Got nothing.
So if you're out there and you got nothing, let's make it something, okay? Book a ticket today to attend our in-person workshop. We have a capacity for 2,400 people a year to attend that thing. Let the seating capacity be our problem. We'll figure it out. You book your tickets. That's Dr. Z.
Hey, would you pull up? There's one famous movie quote from Braveheart where he's telling the guys they've got an opportunity to do something that day. And they yes, they're afraid, and yes, it may end up in epic failure. But he asked them a question. And that question, if you can find it, is powerful.
What's the question? What's he talking about?
I'll just say it because you may not be able to find it. But the question is, if you could trade, he goes, you're going to die. We're all going to die. But if you could trade all the days from now until you're in your deathbed dying to come back here, to come back to today and fight for your freedom, would you do it? And so that's what I'm asking everybody out there right now. Every day of your life, you get older. Every day of your life, you're taking one more day towards your final day.
Scotland.
Here we go.
I am William Wallace.
Oh, here we go.
William Wallace is 7 feet tall.
Yes, I've heard. Kills men by the hundred.
There it is.
And if he were here, he'd consume the English with fireballs from his eyes.
Don't make this about somebody else. This show is about your life.
Correct.
Don't make this about somebody else.
Bolts of lightning from his arse. I am William Wallace. And I see a whole army of my countrymen.
You listening today have the capacity and the tenacity to be the next William Wallace, or you could just watch life pass you by.
Here in defiance of tyranny. You've come to fight as free men. And free men you are.
You gotta understand, there's a lot of people have fought to give you the opportunity to get out of the wage cage.
Right, and I'm going to tell you right now, everybody listening out there with ears to listen, you are an entrepreneur. It's in your DNA.
You can do it.
You have the ability to do it. I love. See how he does that? He calls them out. He calls them out as countrymen. Now they have their own country. Did you see that?
What will you do
nice
without
move.
freedom? Will you fight?
Will you fight? Are you going to fight?
What will you do without your own business?
What are you going to do? Are you going to just talk about it?
Right? Against that? No! We will run! And we will live. Aye. Fight and you may die. Run and you'll live. At least a while. And dying in your beds many years from now, would you be willing to trade all the days from this day to that for one chance, just one chance, to come back here and tell our enemies that they may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom?
There it is. And if there's somebody out there who you cheer in this scene in the movie, you love this movie, but you love it because you're watching somebody else have success. I would invite you, instead of watching reality shows, make a life so good that people want to make a reality show about your life.
Ooh, wow.
That's something we could do.
That's something we could do.
And on that note, I want to end the show with our first boom as we christened the new studio here.
Oh, and that's just good stuff.
And then I think my wife has some sort of paycheck for you. So it's a boom and then a paycheck for you. So
perfect.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, boom.